everybody. Welcome to today's study number 5 in the book of Hebrews. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. Yesterday, I turned in my entry, paid my entry fee for the 26.2 mile monumental marathon in Indianapolis, Indiana. I've been having injuries lately. I haven't been running like I should. I've got to really get on it. I hope you're doing something to keep yourself not only spiritually healthy, but physically healthy as well. Maybe you can join me for the marathon. We can run together, or you can run way behind me. Whatever. Hope you're not behind in Search of Scriptures. Hope you're caught up with us today. We're ready for study number 5 in Hebrews. Let's get right to it. It comes from Hebrews chapter 4, verse 14 through Hebrews chapter 5 and verse number 10. And we are going to answer 2 questions. Once again, we get these questions from Alan Stibb's 3-year Bible study entitled Search the Scriptures. I encourage you to get a copy of that at Amazon.com or wherever you can pick that up. Let's look at verse number 1. Comes from chapter 4, verses 14 through 16. What truths concerning our Christian high priest, which is Jesus, are we exhorted here to confess? And what consequent privileges open to our enjoyment are we exhorted here to possess fully? Question number 2 from chapter 5, verses 1 through 10. What qualifications for high priesthood are set forth in the first 4 verses? And how are these possessed by Christ at a higher level and in a fuller way than could ever be true to a Levitical priest? And what benefit can he consequently make ours, and on what condition? Well, let's look at Hebrews chapter 4, verse 14 through chapter 5, verse 10, shall we? Beginning with verse 14 of chapter 4. Therefore, since we have a great high priest who has gone through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold firmly to the faith that we profess. For we do not have a high priest who's unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who's been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet was without sin. So let us then approach the throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. Chapter 5, every high priest is selected from among men and is appointed to represent them in matters related to God, to offer gifts and sacrifices for sins. He is able to deal gently with those who are ignorant and are going astray, since he himself is subject to weakness. This is why he has to offer sacrifices for his own sins, as well as for the sins of the people. No one takes this honor upon himself. He must be called by God, just as Aaron was. So Christ also did not take upon himself the glory of becoming a high priest. But God said to him, "You're my son, today I have become your father." And he says in another place, "You are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek." During the days of Jesus' life on earth, he offered up prayers and petitions with loud cries and tears to the one who could save him from death. And he was heard because of his reverent submission. Although he was a son, he learned obedience from what he suffered, and once made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation for all who obey him, and was designated by God to be high priest in the order of Melchizedek. Now let's answer that first question from chapter 4, verses 14 and 16. What truths concerning our Christian high priest are we exhorted here to confess, and what subsequent privileges open to our enjoyment are we exhorted here to possess fully? Well, as Christians, we have a high priest that understands what it's like to be human, understands what it's like to deal with struggles of life and the pulls of the flesh. And since we have such a high priest as that, Jesus Christ, we are encouraged to boldly approach the throne of grace with a confidence that we will be understood and we will be dealt with in a just manner, because after all, Jesus has been where we are at. Question number 2, chapter 5, verses 1 through 10. What are the qualifications for the priesthood set forth in the first 4 verses? How are these possessed by Christ at a higher level and in a fuller way than could ever be true of a Levitical priest? And what benefit can he consequently make ours, and on what conditions? Well, no one is uniquely qualified to be a high priest. The only real qualification in the Old Testament was that one must be a Levite. It's kind of like becoming president of the United States. You have to be sold in America and born in the United States. I mean, that's it. Priesthood, you had to be born a Levite. That's it. Outside of that, there was nothing that you could do to candidate for the position or to prepare oneself for that position. The high priest was appointed by God alone, chosen by God. Christ's appointment was superior in that he ministered in the superior tabernacle, the one in heaven. He needed not offer up a sacrifice for his own sins, and that was necessary every year for the earthly high priest. He was chosen by God himself, not by the people. And then Christ offers a permanent forgiveness that is untainted by his own sin. There's no need for repeated yearly sacrifice, as was the case with the earthly high priest.